Welcome back to the program. Welcome to Al-Qaida University, formerly known as Colorado State University. That's right, we only accept the best terrorists here at Al-Qaida University. You can have a degree program in things like 1001 ways to deal with a goat or a sheep, perhaps. Perhaps maybe you're interested in bomb making. We have Bomb Making 101. We have How to Kill the Infidel in 35 Seconds. All of these are funded, that's right, by the United States government and in particular, USAID. Unbelievable. Listen to this absolutely insane story. Are you ready for this? Top Al-Qaeda terrorists, college education completely paid by USAID. Each new day brings endless new examples of misuse, fraud, abuse. Our U.S. tax dollars are being used for some of the most insane and egregious things, including, by the way, fully funding a terrorist. That's right, an Al-Qaeda terrorist. Al-Awlaki, an American citizen born in New Mexico to Yemeni parents, was killed in a drone strike in Yemen in 2011. However, Colorado State University, through funding by USAID, paid 100% for his tuition. Al-Awlaki was a central figure of Al-Qaeda, known to have had contact with Army psychiatrist Nidal Hasan. You remember him, right? From the Fort Hood massacre. He was his, quote, spiritual advisor, who then went on to kill 13 people at Fort Hood in Texas. A USAID form from 1990, obtained by IntelWire through a FOIA request, was shared online, and it shows that Al-Awlaki was reportedly granted a full funding to attend CSU with the financial help of the State Department and in particular USAID. Unbelievable. So we're now funding terrorist universities. Imagine that. How do you infiltrate and take down the greatest country in the world? Well, why don't you just fund the terrorists that'll kill us? Holy shit. That's all I can say. And it gets worse. There's more and more happening. There's this story too. This one's insane. What if I told you that you can only fire 10,000 federal workers a year? And if you do decide to fire those 10,000 workers, well, the application is not done on computer. It's done with a pen and paper. And weirdly enough, it's sent down into a limestone cave. And I know what you're thinking. What the hell are you talking about? That's exactly what I'm saying. What the hell are we talking about here? Well, apparently Doge and Elon Musk have found a, quote, limestone mine that Elon Musk said manually processes federal retirement paperwork, and it's actually real. There's pictures of it. Yes, it will be in the thumbnail for you. Tuesday afternoon, President Donald Trump and Elon Musk held a press conference in which Musk divulged some pretty interesting information, not to mention the fact that apparently we're paying people that are 150 years old because, you know, they're still around, of course, to collect those paychecks. Wow. So this weird situation, let's explain this one real quick. The retirement paperwork is manual on paper. It's manually calculated. This is from Elon Musk. They're written down on a piece of paper. Then, believe it or not, it goes down a mine. And like, what do you mean by a mine? Well, yeah, there's an actual limestone mine. They store all the paper, the retirement paperwork, and if you look at the picture, which you'll see in the thumbnail, you can see that this was built in the 1950s. It was started in 1955, so it does look as though it's from a time warp. And then the speed of the limiting factor is the speed at which the mine shaft elevator can move, and that determines how many people can retire from the federal government. And the elevator breaks down sometimes, and then nobody can retire. This is real. Our government has been hiding so many insane secrets from us. And of course, we're going to get to the bottom of MLK's assassination, RFK's assassination, JFK's assassination, President Trump's assassination, the Epstein list. They're going to release it all. And this bullshit about, oh, it's, you can't do that for national security has nothing to do with national security. That is what they use to try to stop people like rhinos and establishment Republicans from going along with what Trump and Elon and the rest of Pam Bondi and the FBI and everybody else wants to do, which is full transparency for once. So back in 2014, another investigative journalist by the name of David Fahrenthold reported on this exact mine that Elon Musk and his Doge folks have found. As a matter of fact, there was a story in the Washington Posterior about the facility in which it was dubbed a, quote, sinkhole of bureaucracy. Fahrenthold's article describes the limestone mines in Boyers, Pennsylvania as one of the weirdest workplaces in the United States government, both for where it is and for what it does. The town of about 60 miles north of Pittsburgh has hosted this unusual government facility since the mid-20th century, and much of the technology used in the office seems to date from that era. At the time Fahrenthold was reporting on this over a decade ago, there were 600 employees of the Office of Personnel Management that processed the retirement paperwork for the entire federal workforce down to this facility that boasts 8 massive file caverns. I can't even believe I'm talking about this. Like, this sounds like a science fiction movie or something. The history of this underground office dates back to the late 1950s, when the federal government was looking for additional storage space and was alerted to this abandoned mine in Boyers, Pennsylvania, which had been bought by a private company and essentially turned into an enormous safe deposit box. This safe, of course, from the weather and other things, and of course the Soviets at the time, kept naturally cool in a cave. So in other words, the documents and all that would be weatherproofed, basically. That naturally preservative climate and secure location has continued to be a benefit to this day. The complex is owned by document company Iron Mountain, which also leases space in caverns adjacent to the OPM offices to be used for preserving old Hollywood movie reels and photographic archives. The issue isn't necessarily the mine in and of itself, but it is the fact that the core steps in the way that retirement papers are processed are still done manually, requiring paper printouts, actual signatures, and tens of thousands of file cabinets stuffed with manila folders. James W. Morrison Jr., who oversaw this office under President Ronald Reagan in the 1980s, was shocked when Fahrenthold told him that the system was still being managed by shuffling dead trees around. Another decade in, and Morrison might have a stronger reaction than the wow he gave the Post back in 2014. Fahrenthold's article describes in painstaking detail the multi-step procedures for intake, processing, and approval of retirement paperwork, which repeatedly uses real paper that has to be internally moved by the employees, taking long walks through mostly empty caverns hundreds of feet below ground. Then typing data into computers like in the old days and printing out the documents. This leaves the federal retirement system only able to run at the speed of the human fingers that it's using, making federal retirees wait months, if not years, before they can fully retire and even receive their full benefits. So imagine that. Think of how many people have gone through our government since not just 2014, since the 1950s. The 50s, the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, 90s, early 2000s, late 2000s, mid 2000s, late 2000s, all of this till up to today. And it took a South African to expose all this. Think about how many people have gone through our government. How many positions, how many directors, how many assistant directors, how many deputy directors, how many, officials of this organization and that organization, and senators and congressmen and governors and mayors and who knows how many. Think of how many people that either didn't know about this or did know about it and kept it quiet. Washington is a fucking cancer, okay? It is a cancer. And honestly, I wish we could just blow the whole thing up, okay? I truly believe that. We ought to just blow the whole thing up. Just get rid of everything, every single building, start from scratch and rebuild it in a way where the people say what gets built and what doesn't get built. Unbelievable. I can't even believe this is a real true story, but it is. Then it goes into say, past attempts to digitize the office in the 1980s and 1990s burned through tens of millions of dollars. Another attempt in 2008 took over $100 million to implement, but then was junked in just a few months after it failed on all but 5 of the 61 functions that the software was supposed to handle. The account for Doge tweeted a photo of the mine facility Tuesday afternoon after the presser. So these Doge people basically went in to the government and they were looking through all these files and everything else, and they said something about a mine shaft in Iron Mountain. And they were like, what the hell is this? So they brought it to Elon's attention, and he sent a couple of these guys out there. That's right. With an escort and everything, police escort, sent them out there, and they went in and they discovered all this stuff. They're the ones that took the pictures. They did all of it. These kids are going to go down in history as revolutionaries for what they have done for this great country. My God. God bless each and every one of them. So it says, and this is from @Doge on X, federal employee retirements are processed using paper by hand in an old limestone mine in Pennsylvania. 700 plus mine workers operate 230 feet underground to process 10,000 applications per month, which are stored in manila envelopes and cardboard boxes. Out of all the things we've heard that they've found, that is one of the most shocking, in my opinion. It's truly just unbelievable. It is truly unbelievable. So, okay, so let's see, 12 minutes in. All right, what else do we want to cover? Well, let's cover, we covered that one, we covered this one, we covered this one. Okay, let's cover this. So this is the great Jonathan Turley, right? You've heard of him, George Washington University professor of law, very smart guy, Democrat, but very smart guy. Actually, I tried to get him to do the forward to my book, but it didn't happen. I couldn't reach him. He wouldn't respond, whatever it is. But he is basically saying that what these judges have done and how they are trying to interfere with the executive branch, they're going to get shot down, and they're going to get shot down hard, okay? Before I even go in and tell you about this, this is what I put on X earlier today. This one's a doozy. Here's what I wrote. Let's see here. So I wrote 2, but I'll go through the first one. So I wrote this today. Dear President Trump, you were hired to upend Washington by auditing the government, banning DEI and the trans nonsense, and you were given a mandate by we the people to do all of this. Ignore every left-wing judge's order, and if they do try to come after you, arrest the judges for trespassing on government property, is what I wrote. Then appoint a special counsel to open up full-blown investigations into every single one of these eunuchs in black robes. Let's see how many kickbacks, payoffs, and unexplained payments that these judges have received from all of these government agencies they're trying to protect. We are not going to comply. Get this through your thick skulls. We are going to audit the entire government, whether you like it or not. Signed, taxpayer. Okay? That's what I put on X today. But also this right here, I just did. So here it is. Let me see. I'll show you this one too. Here's what it wrote. Here's what I wrote. I put hashtag Trump voters tax holiday 2025 and hashtag Trump voters deserve reparations from Democrats. This is all on X, okay? Let's get these two trending. After what we have learned from Doge, the Democrats have embedded waste and fraud into every single agency. Here's how the grift has been working. They purposely made their grift almost untraceable. They paid off judges, NGOs, even the FBI, the CIA, DHS, NSA, all the rest of the letter agencies in order for them to look the other way or partake in their newfound riches paid for by we, the taxpayers. Here's step one. Raise taxes on the American people in order to rape and pillage them. Step two, collect as much money from the taxpayers as you can by hook or by crook, and then disperse it to all of these federal agencies. Step number three, these corrupt agencies, almost all, by the way, run by Democrats, then send your money to other Democrat nonprofits, which of course are for-profit organizations. Step number four, the president, which is always a Democrat of these, quote, nonprofit organizations, then takes a huge percentage of the money for him or herself. Step number five, after the regulators, the auditors, the banks, the charities, and the FBI, the CIA, the DHS, and all the others get their, quote, operation fee for allowing this to happen, then the rest is given to leftist groups that then launder that money, you guessed it, directly back to Democrats. Left-wing organizations, unions, Media Matters, MoveOn.org, George Soros, you name it. We are literally paying for people to steal elections from us. They are taking our taxpayer money and using it against us to put us in slavery and put us in bondage and put us in communism and totalitarianism. That's what they are doing. Step number six. Use the grifted taxpayer money to help steal elections. Oh, I'm sorry. Is this too much truth for the grifters to handle? Are you going to need a safe space to cry in? Should we get you some ice cream and pizza for your hurt feelings? Enough is enough. Number one, take this money from these agencies and put it into a fund for the January 6th prisoners. Let's give it to people who actually deserve it. Number two, take the rest of this money and give it to those poor people who had it taken from them by FEMA, $60 million that could have went to Western North Carolina, and rebuild Western North Carolina with the money that you are finding in these agencies. Number three, use what's left to prosecute every single person involved. Trump voters should swear an oath right now, today, not to file or pay taxes until this money is redirected to these causes. And then I put, if you have big balls, share this. So I'm doing a lot of that type of stuff on X because I'm trying to gain back a following. I've got 6,233 people following me, and I'm following 273. So those are good numbers to have. I'm hoping to be over 10,000 maybe in the next week and a half or 2 weeks, but we'll see what happens. So anyway, I wanted to cover that, and then the last thing, which is really more, well, I'll do the audio on Jonathan Turley actually. So here, let's do this, and then we'll probably wrap it up.
Barring all Treasury officials from seeing material, for example, I think is going to fall badly on when it gets to review by the appellate courts. You can't sweep that broadly. The president has authority to run the executive branch.
Which, in fact, brings me to my next point, which is that Trump is urgently trying to overturn the ban on the funding freeze. Seeing this in a DOJ filing, basic democratic accountability requires that every executive agency's work be supervised by politically accountable leadership who ultimately answer to the president. I mean, sorry, that's the ban on being allowed to see the Treasury payment system. But at the same time as that is going on, a judge in Rhode Island just ordered the Trump administration again to lift the freeze on funding. So how is all that in your mind going to shake out?
Well, once again, I don't see the way that a federal judge under Article 3 can limit Article 2 powers to this extent. A president is allowed to conduct an audit when he comes into office. He is allowed to slow down payments while he reviews them. It's well known that all administrations, including the Biden administration, often force through a lot of spending efforts right before they leave office. A new president's allowed to examine all of that. Now, does that mean that they can cut off funds that are appropriated for their specific purposes? No, it doesn't. But they are allowed to look at how they're being spent. That is the discretion afforded to a president. So I think, once again, it's going to shake out. But this federal judge went pretty far. Now, this is a temporary injunction. So presumably the Department of Justice is going to come in and say, look, he's allowed to do this. This is how we're going to proceed. And we'll stay within these navigational beacons.
Yeah. Well,
there it is. These judges, all of them, are going to get overturned. Every single one of them. Because the Department of Justice, that's now run with actual people that believe in the justice system, are going to go to the courts and say, sorry, this left-wing scumbag judge does not have the authority to do what he's doing. So President Trump, J.D. Vance, the rest of them, Elon Musk, Doge, keep doing what you're doing, keep cutting, keep recommending cuts, keep freezing the spending, and that's it. And if the judge wants to come after you, bring it on, judge. You're going down next. Those are my thoughts. What are yours? Put them down in the comments below. We'll see you in the next one.